Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us here today. Today's presentation is going to focus on a new offering for Universal Stamp, the local web server. But before I turn it over to the Hampton team to provide the technical details there, just want to give a brief recap of Universal Stamp. So Universal Stamp, as we know, became the fourth official medallion signature guarantee program, effective 10/1/25. We've been adding more and more firms every month, and it's gone very smoothly to date. In Universal Stamp, guarantors can have both physical and digital medallions. These, of course, being the first digital medallions available for guarantors. And the medallions themselves have expanded uses. They can be used for both securities transactions, the typical stamp change in ownership of a security transaction, as well as sort of that SVP or commercial transactions use for all other kinds of transactions, 401k rollovers, address changes, things that aren't necessarily a change in ownership pertaining to a security. As you'll see in a moment here, the Universal Stamp app is still, of course, used and is used by all the current participants in Universal Stamp, but the local web server is an alternative to that may be more beneficial to an organization looking to implement digital medallions on a widespread basis. And with that, I will turn it over to Ron and Mario. Feel free to put any questions in the chat feature, and we will try to answer those as we go along. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. And thanks, everybody, for joining us today. And the questions should go in the Q&A, not the chat. This way, everybody gets a copy of them. As Andrew said, Mario's going to put a slide up here, and as more firms join, people want options. So the local web server is just that. It's an option to the Windows app. The big difference is with the local web server, you're in control of it. It runs in your environment, and there is no need to install the app on the local machines, which makes for easier large-scale deployment. I'm going to turn it over to Mario, and any questions, as I said, shoot them into that Q&A. Andrew and I'll try to keep up.
All right. Hello, everybody. Now from my end, this is Mario. I'm not turning on my camera because I have so many monitors and I wouldn't know which one to look at. I would prefer to look at the one that the presentation is running off. So I think the best way to explain what the local web server is and what differs from the Universal Stamp app that we have had on the market for a while is to just compare those architectures really quick. If you want to look at this very simplified architecture drawing, to the right, you see our what we call the Universal Stamp Web Hub. So basically, that's our website with a little backend functionality. This is where admins, like your admins, can deactivate users, look at log files. So it's more like the housekeeping part, as we like to call it. But also it offers what's called an API, application programming interface. So think of that kind of as a plug or a socket where you can plug in applications. And that's what the Windows app does. It's connecting through that API, so it can retrieve user names and compare passwords, write log files, things like that. That's what this connection is for. And then to really sign the documents, because applying a digital medallion is nothing but applying what's called a digital signature. So that's an industry standard out there. And Global Sign is a third-party service that offers a digital signing service, DSS. That's what the app would use. So this is the Windows app that some of you might have seen or might have not, I'm not sure. In comparison, however, the local web server, what that does now is that we have basically replacing the Windows app. It's not technically, it's not really a replacement. It's something that completes the Windows app. You can use either or both at the same time. That always works because what the local web server does is as the name suggests, a local web server that runs in your premises, and it also connects through that API to our hosted backend. That, however, does not require to be installed on every user's computer. The users will connect through a web browser to that local web server. And that means that it has to be installed only once, only be maintained once by the IT team. So it has its advantage. Says it does have disadvantages as well, of course. So for smaller companies, they're probably better off with using the Windows. Because this one is needs a little more sophisticated IT knowledge to run it, whereas the app you install and you use it, that's it. All right, with that, this was everything I had in PowerPoint.
Mario, sorry, some people were saying they weren't seeing your screen. I see it. Right now you have the visit UStamp website, stamp a document, need help. And you had the one slide before.
And that, you see it now?
I saw it, but I always saw it. A couple people in the Q&A said they couldn't.
That is weird.
Keep in mind with Teams, you have 2 Teams windows. Sometimes I get lost with which one is.
Oh, yeah, there are multiple Teams windows. One of them might be the
Yeah.
one that shows my screen.
Yeah, if you hover over your Teams icon, you can see the 2 screens and click on the one.
All right. Some people see it.
Okay.
And I'll just say if anybody has an issue, just put your email in and I can always send the recording as well.
Sounds good. You want me to continue, Andrew?
Please, thank you.
All right. So away with the PowerPoint. Most people don't like that anyways. So this is the live local web server. It's hosted not at our data center. This is a demo system hosted at Hampton. And for those of you who know the app, it looks exactly like the app, and that's what we were trying to achieve. Let me just start from the beginning here. Tried something before. So starts up like the app would, and you see a login button here. You of course have to log in to be presented with the features that are available to your user. So I'm going to log in as a Guarantor, a demo Guarantor user. And for this demo, I just turned off the 2-factor authentication. Typically, you would get an email now with a 6-digit PIN code that the system requires you to enter, and this way you get in finally. And we do that, especially for most guarantors, we turned that on their request just because it makes offboarding easier. Say, imagine somebody leaves the organization. All you need to do is cut their access to their corporate email. And with that, they don't have access to the system anymore because they can't receive the PIN code. All right. So most importantly now, once we're logged in, we have this button in the middle here that says stamp a document. And that's what I'm going to do. So I click on that. And it brings me, or it opens a file requester so I can choose any file from my computer or from a network drive, something like that. Let's use this one. And it opens the document and I can view it in here. I can rename it. I'm going to do that for now. What's today? The 11th. I can browse through the pages. Well, this one only has one. Optionally, just saying optionally, we did have to request from a couple of guarantors saying we also would like to document what this transaction we're trying to achieve here is worth. So we want to put in a transaction value of $1 million. If we don't put anything here, it's not a problem at all. It's just not going to show in the documentation. Another thing I want to show you before we finally apply the stamp is adding attachments. And the reason I want to do that before is that adding a stamp is always the final step in the process, because once the stamp is applied, the document gets locked down. So of course, you can't protect it from being changed. Every file on a computer can be changed by anyone, but you can make it temper evident, and that's what we do. Once the stamp is applied, any change would be considered tampering with the document, so an illegal manipulation. That's why we want to do the attachments first, and say you need some supporting documentation to go with this document here. That's what we do. We click on attachments and then add attachment. I want to attach, say, the death certificate, and I'm sure it doesn't make sense with this particular document, but you get the concept. I can also add like a driver's license, so like an image file, doesn't have to be a PDF file, and it does get embedded into this document. We'll see that later when I open the document in Acrobat. And now that I have everything, I have my name, my transaction value, and the attachments. Now I hit add stamp. And what I see is the stamps that are associated with my user here on the right. Very typically, you would have one user, one stamp. There are some exceptions. For example, if one user had an A-type stamp and maybe a Z-type stamp or something. But mostly you would only have one. I only have one, and that's what I'm going to use. And when I click on it, it jumps right over onto the document, and I can now drag it to where I want it to appear, say right here. And when I'm done, I can hit apply stamp. This is now where the digital signature happens. I love to call it where the magic happens. Now we are, or the software did reach out to GlobalSign. GlobalSign created the certificate for us. We signed and sealed the document, all technical lingo stuff. The important thing is now we see that there is a stamp on the document. We see it visually, plus the document is bearing a digital signature, which renders it temper evident. And what does that mean? If I save the document, so one of the options after I'm done stamping is I can save it just to my local file server. And the way this works in the local web server app is that it goes to the downloads. Start on power 11, that's in the downloads. And when I open it in Acrobat Reader, okay, it doesn't open the reader. Here it is. It opened on the other screen. So now when I look at the document, I can see that the stamp is on there. But more importantly, it says certified by Keymark Financial Services. And when I click on the signature and hit signature properties, I can see that the document certification is valid. It's signed by Keymark Financial. There's a signing time, what guarantor, what stamp was used. So even if the recipient of this document wasn't in the program, say you want to send this to the shareholder or whatever, that would still be a document that where you can, with just using Acrobat, you can already tell this document was not altered after the stamp was applied. That's the important part. Now, another thing is the attachments we just talked about before. Acrobat has this little paper clip here, and it shows the attachments that are in there. So that said, these attachments don't travel separately. They are really embedded in the PDF file. All you need to transfer to the recipient is the PDF file itself. And of course, with stamping it, also these attachments have been protected from manipulation, because if somebody went into the PDF file, changed these attachments, the certification would also be invalid. And up here, it would show a big red X, right? So that's one of the things you can do. You can save this document and transport it by any means your organization feels comfortable with. For example, sending an email, sending secure email, even putting it on a flash drive and sending it by mail, which is probably dumb, but possible. We do, however, have another way to route it to recipients, and we call that inboxes. So what that means is that recipients that are in the program can register inboxes with our system, and then you would see a directory with all the registered recipients and their inboxes. That happens by clicking on the assign button. And then I see a list, these are already signed up. I see a list of recipients with inboxes that they are sharing. Which one is ours? So we have a demo account here that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 inboxes. And there's a little description to it where the recipient can tell us now which kind of documents they would expect to see in this inbox. And when I select that general inbox, because I feel this is a general document, and then hit assign here, I will have to confirm it. And now the document is traveling directly from your premises to that recipient. So the document does not hit our server. It doesn't hit Keymark servers. It's always something that the compliance people love. The document just really moved directly from us to that recipient's inbox. And I got a confirmation that it's already transferred. And at this point, I'm actually done with this particular document. The recipient just got an email also that says, let's see if I can pull it up here. I think I am on the account. Yeah, here it is. Just going to drag it over from the other monitor. So I see a new document was received. That's this document by that name from which guarantor. And then it says, please log into the Ustepa app and check your inbox. And that's what they will do. And then proceed with the transaction. That's basically it. Ron, what else would you like me to show?
I think that's it. Mario, do you want to just perhaps explain a little bit the local web server is within your environment. I can explain it. It's within your environment and not Keymarks, not Hamptons. This is like a local server, as Mario said. So it's running within your environment under your compliance regulations, your procedures for users and whatever. So this is also from a compliance standpoint, you have more control over it. And as I think Mario said earlier, makes for larger scale, easier deployment, easier updates.
Would it make sense,
it-
Ron, to show the verification process in the app really quick?
Can we answer one question from Sue here? That's a good one, just so everybody can hear. Sue asked, will we see any status when the recipient opens, signs, etc.?
Yes.
So and that's a good thing to do, Mario.
Yeah,
so
absolutely, yes. Let me show this. It's only going to take a minute or two, and then we have the answer to this question. On my screen, you now see the app, and it's really very similar. I want to log in as a transfer agent now. And the reason I do that is because I just got the email that said, please log on. And you might remember these 6 or 7 inboxes we saw when we assigned the document. That's exactly the inboxes that the recipient sees because it's theirs. And when I click on the general inbox, here's my stock bond power 11, so I can open that. I can again view it. And now I can hit verify. And now we'll get this nice little report. So I see that the document is good. It hasn't been changed. I see that there's one stamp on it. I see my attachments. And I have a nice little audit trail that says the document has been stamped. And after that, it was placed into the inbox, general inbox. And now I can, besides, I can also contact the sender if there was something I needed in addition. And it's going to send an email to the person who originally sent that to me. However, I want to accept, well, let's reject it actually. I want to reject it, and that's the reason I put in wrong stamp. What? I'll reject it. And then it also asks now, do you want to remove it from the inbox? Because now that I've processed the document, I don't need it in the inbox anymore. So I hit yes, takes a moment. And you can see now that the audit trail grew. It says the document was rejected and the rejection reason is wrong stamp. At the same time, I got, or the person who stamped the document got an email, which looks like this. So the document was rejected, and it says the document, this and that, was rejected by that company, that user, and the rejection reason was wrong stamp. With that, you're in the loop. You know what happened on the other side. If they accepted it, you would get the same email, but it would say, this document was e-delivered, call it. Because there's a little bit of confusion as to what accept means. They can still reject the whole transaction, but the document as such, they can accept as being legit. So does that answer the question somehow? I would hope so.
Yes, and and Mario, if if it's not rejected, it says the same message would come back to you, the guarantor, and say this document has been e-delivered to the recipient.
I should mention you can there's a way to configure it to go either to the user who placed the stamp and assigned it, or we can also have what we call an override email mailbox. So have that notification go to one particular mailbox, no matter who actually stamped the document. So that's also possible.
Good.
All right, we're gonna do away with the app because actually we want to show this one.
Okay. Mario, hang on one second. Never mind. I'm just trying to see if there's any, no, I don't think there's any specific questions for you. Do you see any, Andrew?
No, I don't. I
Okay.
think maybe just worth reiterating that the local web server was made, as the guys have said, as an alternative to the universal stamp app, so that you as an organization can decide what's easier for us to implement. Is it easier to have the app where people log in with their credentials, or Microsoft single sign-on? Is it easier to have this? But it's all the same features. It's all the same construction of neither Keymark nor Hampton are ever privy to any PII for any period of time. As Mario said, everything's moving directly from, the guarantor side who affixes the medallion to a PDF directly to Computershare, Equinity, Broadridge, US Bank, etc. on the recipient side.
Great. The local web server is a fairly simple process, as we said. Mario, I don't know if there are any technical people on the call, but maybe you want to just explain, what, what type of package this is and how it would be accessed and downloaded.
So this piece of software is a .NET, Microsoft.NET implementation. It comes as a Docker container, and it's basically installed. If you have a Docker server, like you can install it with from a registry. So basically, it's one line to install it and one to launch it. Pretty straightforward for the IT guys here. Docker container in a registry. That's it.
There was a good question here, and I want to do this aloud. Tom asked if somebody has a physical stock certificate, what's the process? So in Universal Stamp, again, guarantors can have both physical and digital medallions. The feedback we've received from the U-Stamp pilot program and now from the over half a year where it's been a full program is that if it's a physical stock certificate, and of course those are becoming less and less common, but are still out there and in the millions, of course, is that it's probably easier to use the physical medallion because the recipient is going to want you to mail that physical certificate. So it might sort of cause confusion at the recipient if you are sending digitally the documentation and the digital medallion, and that arrives on a Monday, and the physical certificate arrives on a different day. That's probably going to be easiest to use the physical certificate. That being said, the sort of motto we always tell people is if it's a digital medallion on a document, it should be sent electronically. The digital medallion in that sort of PDF form has all of these inherent security features. So Lisa, to your point about from a security standpoint, it's date and time stamped. It has all these items where if you print it, it makes some of those security features weaker, kind of the same way that the recipients always want that original green ink rather than a black and white, fax of a medallion. So anything involving a digital medallion should be sent electronically to that transfer agent or mutual fund via the assign feature, via email, secure email, SFTP, etc. But anything with the physical certificate, yes, I do think you're probably still going to have the physical medallion for that. I hope that answers the question there. Okay.
Let's see.
So Sue asked about the recipients and the mailboxes. So that is something the recipients set up themselves. Maybe we could hit that assign button one more time, please. Now, not every firm that is participating in U-Stamp has set up a mailbox. Most have because it's a very sort of direct way to send to firms, and they're finding that this takes it centralizes everything, of course, right? By having it just say clear trust, then you press that button and it goes to one central place at clear trust and is very convenient. And more firms are signing up for that. But if you see that list, that is not the full 100% list of participating firms. Chris had a question about documentation to set up the local web server. He's in the IT department. So the first step, it can't be installed on your end until the program documents have been completed. What we can provide are PDFs of maybe 5 pages, Ron, that
Yeah, I
outlines
can.
the architecture and everything.
Yeah, I took a note and I figured I can send him the architecture
Okay, perfect.
and just that scope of data document that will probably help understand. Which is always something people want to know is where is my bank data? And when you use your universal stamp, whether it's the Windows app or the local web server, your bank data remains with the bank locally. Mario, what is the only data that is transmitted back to our data center?
Well, it starts with login information. So the username and the password would be transferred over. And then the other thing is a hash value of the document. So that's basically a fingerprint but it's not something you can use to reconstruct the document. So this is just to keep a log of which documents have been processed so that later on we can actually identify, was this document ever processed with the universal stamp system. And log information, for example, this user has used stamp XYZ to place a medallion onto document ABC. So that log information is also sent over to the backend, and that's pretty much it.
Okay. Mario, there may be people on here that haven't seen the web hub, or you know, and maybe worth just showing real quick account settings and what is in
The
their
administrative.
the administration. This is the administrative portion that would be accessed only by your firm's medallion administrator.
Ron, do you want to lead and I jump in when it gets technical?
Sure. So, Mario, why don't you go to active stamps?
Sure.
So what active stamps shows is this is your medallion inventory. So your medallion inventory is now electronic. You see who has what, and you can even create custom fields. So if you want to have where people are located or what region or division of the company. But these are the stamps. And then if you click on the three dots next to the user, this is how you would view that particular user's log or deactivate or deactivate.
That's a long log because I use that pretty much for
Yeah.
But yeah, I could now deactivate it, which I won't do for now.
But that's how you remove a user from the system. And then I guess if you go back home, Mario, active users is the reverse of stamps. It's just the names and emails of the active users and how many stamps they have. And what else do we have on that home screen? The reports thing, the reports section. This lets you run reports by custom dates, or if you put no dates in, it'll run everything. You can run it by stamp class if you like. So if you have a Z stamp and an A stamp, you can run how many A's or how many Z stamps were used. Let's look at, Mario, maybe you can just explain account settings.
Yeah, maybe also the recipient list after that. So
Oh, right. Yeah.
there are a couple of account settings that your admin users can change. So for example, there's an archive path. So when you want to save a document, it goes always to that path. That could be interesting if you, for example, have a cold system, meaning a document management system that picks up incoming files from a particular folder. Then this is the acceptance notification email that I mentioned earlier. So if it's left blank, then the accept status of what happens with the document is sent to the user who did assign it. But if you put something in here, so for example, I don't know, office@mybank.com, it's always going to go to that email address instead. We have had certain clients who actually really wanted that. We have a password policy. If you don't use the SSO, which in the local web server is not available yet, you probably haven't seen it. Single sign-on with Microsoft will become available in the next version of local web server. We're anticipating early summer for that. And then we have an API key. So if you have an IT department that would like to integrate into the system, I don't know, pulling reports automatically or downloading audit trails for particular files, or getting a user inventory just to manage it and sync it with your internal user database, That's what you can set up the API for. So that's all done in here. And one more thing that I think is interesting is recipients whitelist. You might have seen, might remember when I assigned the document to a recipient, I got this repository of all the recipients that have signed up for this already. But what if I only want to work with certain of them and I don't trust that my users will not make a mistake and send it to the wrong one? I can actually go ahead and just enable this one and then this one maybe, or even only that one. And that's going to be the only one that shows up in that list of recipients when you want to assign the document. I think that pretty much covers it.
Yeah.
Mario, there was a question here, it's a good one, from Lisa about, is there a way for an organization to see a report of, every time the medallion has been used or by value? I know we have 1,000 ways it can be sliced and diced.
Yeah.
Again, neither we nor the administrator for, say, ABC Bank would be able to see the precise document with the medallion, but you would have a report showing every time, one of the ABC Bank employees has used it.
Typically, what would happen is that you would keep these documents in some kind of backend system that you're already using, or some kind of document management system. And using the API, this could be linked to the audit trail that we are offering here. So that means these reports would probably be run from your own systems, but we can run them, of course, from here. You just can't see, as Andrew had mentioned, the contents of the document, because that's something we never possess, and with that we can show them here.
Mario, I put in your Teams chat, I put an audit trail document just so everybody can kind of see where.
Yeah, that's basically what we saw in the verification result earlier. So that would be an audit trail for one document. So we see somebody entered $1 million and then they stamped it on page 2 using that stamp. And then it was placed into an inbox and then it was submitted. So this is an audit trail that doesn't have the document was accepted feature yet. It's aligned yet because probably nobody did accept it yet, this particular document. Of course, through the API, the audit trail can be pulled from that system anytime, even if that document has been sitting for a week or so, which probably makes sense to always check for this audit trail if it says accepted or not. Once it does, it can be automatically stored in your document management system by something your IT department will build with us, of course. We're happy to support in that. And then you would have all the data needed in your own systems. I'm pretty sure that's how most clients will work eventually.
Great. Any other questions up there, Andrew?
Not that I see, Ron. Some good ones. And again, the reporting, there are just so many ways to, aggregate how many times it was used in a month, or how many times the $1 million medallion was used, that kind of thing. So
that is something that we haven't built yet. We have a lot of ideas on our plate, but we were actually hoping for feedback just like that. And we're pretty open to implement these reports.
Mario is really good. He can put all this together very quickly.
Thank you.
As good ideas come in, yeah.
Yeah.